Beste mensen, op 24 maart komt niemand minder dan Akram Khan, de Britse Bengalese choreograaf, naar Schietmacher met de voorstelling Tikra Night of Remembering. En het wordt de allerlaatste voorstelling van zijn eigen gezelschap Akram Khan Company 25 jaar geleden opgericht. 5 jaar geleden stond hij ook al in Schietmacher met het succes Outwitting the Devil. En nu brengt hij een spirituele performance, zijn onderzoek naar de Indiase danscultuur van de Bharatanatyam. Zelf is hij gespecialiseerd in moderne dans en Kathak. Even nog een anekdote dat zijn moeder hem ooit met een menu bij McDonald's verleidde om Kathak te gaan leren. Hij groeide uit tot de beste Kathak-danser van de hele wereld en mengde dat daarna op een indrukwekkende manier met moderne dans en werkte met talloze kunstenaars en choreografen samen. Nu creëert hij een choreografie voor een grote groep vrouwen over wat blijft er over. Wat herinnert een cultuur zich van voormoeders, oermoeders, erfgoed, overgedragen erfgoed wat misschien via fysicaliteit wordt overgedragen en niet via papier. Hij verdiepte zich in mythes en maakte daarmee de indrukwekkende spirituele reisvoorstelling Tikra, Night of Remembering. Hello, Manel Eldoyen and Maven Koo. Thanks for making time for us to introduce the audience to tell something about the performance Tikra, Night of Remembering from the Akram Khan Company. First of all, of course, Akram Khan Company, this is the last performance of the company. So the people has a last chance to see something from the Akram Khan Company. And Maven, maybe you can tell us a little bit why, after 25 years, the Akram Khan Company is coming to an end?
You know, having worked with Akram so deeply and so closely for so many years, I would say, you know, one of the things that is so graceful and so inspiring about him is his own ability to really consider his relationship to his art that, you know, transcends the kind of expectations and determinations of industry. And as an artist, for him, it has been important to reflect and acknowledge where he sits today in terms of his relationship with his practice and where he wishes to further deepen his sense of curiosity and his own sense of being a student of dance and a student of his art. And I think, you know, it's very interesting because this perception of the closing of Akram Khan Company has had such a different kind of impact dependent on which part of the world is looking at it. And so one part of the world, the Western modern world, keeps focusing on the concept of it being the closing and the finishing. And the other part of the world, which is where really Akram and I are deeply rooted, which is the non-Western part of the world, sees it as the opportunity for something else to grow. And in order for something to grow, something must close. So for him, actually, I think it's very important that there's a clarity that the Akram Khan Company is transitioning into a different structure, into a different something, in order for him to be able to, in the truest sense of the word, continue his relationship to his practice as an artist.
Of course, Akram will continue to make work, and his curiosity to collaborations is famous in his whole career. And now for Tikra, he started a collaboration with Manel. Manel, how did you meet Akram? What was the starting point for your collaboration and your research for this performance?
I'm an artist from Saudi Arabia, and I've been working on a long-term project in a northern state in Saudi Arabia called Al-Ula, which is an archaeological UNESCO heritage site of tombs from 3 different kingdoms on top of each other. And I've been building a long-term artwork there. And so the Royal Commission of Al Ula wanted to make this contemporary dance production, and they loved Akram, and they wanted to bring him in, and they wanted to make sure that there's a sort of a language that crosses over between his creativity and my presence in this space. And so they did a matchmaking process where they introduced us, and we saw how the energy was. And really, we got on so well. And we ended up sitting in the middle of the desert with Mavin and in a circle, just really contemplating the stars and thinking about what rhythms we were feeling from nature and what story we wanted to tell. And that was the beginning. And then the collaboration evolved into creating a narration, into the visuals, into how do we want the stage setting. And really, it was one of the most deep collaborations I've had, very respectful, very close. And I think you can see this closeness with me and Akram Khan Company as a whole, dancers, producers, everyone that belonged there. We really worked with passion for this project.
And you are an incredible visual artist, famous in Saudi Arabia because of your long-term research for this. Can you tell a little bit more about what you do on this UNESCO area and what kind of stories you get up there?
I have done multiple projects. I'll speak about the most current one, which is being built. It is a project called Wadi al-Fan, which translates to the Valley of Arts. It is where we activated that space with the performance of Dhikra in the location of my future artwork. This is a space that has been designed as a long-term artworks that will live in these spaces for 100 years, maybe more, we don't know. And the idea is that you explore these works through a physical movement. So you wouldn't be able to go by car, you would have to go on a safari, almost hiking, camping, and you are surprised by artworks. And so you are interacting with landscape and art at the same time. That's the main project that I've been working on. My artwork there is called Oasis of Stories, and I have a long line in my practice where I build participatory artworks. And this artwork is a gift to the people of Al Ula who live among inscriptions written around them of many nations from around the world that have crossed through the Silk Route, the Spice Route, the Frankincense routes. People inscribe poetry, stories, names, prayers, and I decided to take their stories and narratives and inscribe it onto my artwork.
Because women are playing a leading role in this, in Tikra. Which story of that you research in this, in all these times is now inspiration source for Tikra?
So I always say that artists are so important alongside scientists. And when you go to these archaeological sites, especially the ones in Saudi Arabia, they're just discovering, they're just, unearthing what happened in this place. So like I said, 3 kingdoms buried on top of each other. How did they live? What was the gender power between man and woman? What was their trade? All we know is that the Nabateans, which is the last dynasty or the last kingdom, was a contemporary of the Roman Empire and the ancient Egyptians. They were very, very, very wealthy. So wealthy that they had time to carve the most beautiful tombs and really prepare for the afterlife within the current life. Women were very big contributors within that society. So there was a sense of equality. They were not war or expansionists. So they were really traders, and they loved peace. They chose the desert, a desolate place, very difficult place to live in, but they made it a little paradise on earth. That was the beginning. This is the little threads that we had from the archaeologists. And so me and Akram sat down and started thinking and imagining what would happen on one night of a very famous ritual. Let's think of a ritual, because humanity throughout history has created rituals to survive, to connect, to remember. And so we thought these are people who looked at time in a very extended space. As they built their tombs, they are thinking about the afterlife. I'm sure they were even thinking about the current life. And so we imagined a matriarch that would take the tribe of women, because women are the vessels of storytelling, and they are the culture builders within societies. They would go out to the desert for one night and perform a ritual where they want to connect with their ancestors. And that's where the story begins.
And Maven, how did you create with Akram that physical language to represent this night of remembering, this special ritual?
Akram's mind as an artist is so reflective of who he is as a man in that moment in time. And as a man in his 50s who has purged out the kind of virtuosity and of being a virtuosic dancer with a dance language that is virtuosic, etc., etc. Where he is as a man today is he's a father, he's a son who has lost a father. As he's a man who is, he'll say himself at a particular time in his life where death is very present. His father has passed away. His guru, our gurus are passing away. Our teachers are transitioning it through their lives, and so we are very much in a space of acknowledging this very complex relationship with life and death. And in his work, where it has become in the last 3 or 4 years, being responsible of coaching his work, whether it's a Giselle or whether it's a Tikra, I think what is very, very specific in his work that is very intangible in the theater, but very present in feeling, is that he consistently shifts between what is past tense, present tense, and future tense. So what is present in terms of the live body in the space, what is past in terms of all the ghosts of that space and all the ghosts that sit within him and that sit with those dancers that are there, and what the combination of the past and the present proposes for the future. It's very, very subtle, but it's a very important aspect of Akram's work that is felt, I feel.
But now, Bharatanatyam, can you explain more? Because you tell us about the present and the future and the history that's all coming together there. Can you explain more about that?
I think predominantly also because the nature of how the practices and the forms have evolved in India itself. As you know, Kathak is from the north, Bharatanatyam is from the south. And the north and the south have very, very specific kind of aesthetics and very specific sense of where the notion of the art has kind of grown into. And I think he, number one, there's a particular relationship that Akram as an artist has with the South Indian way of thinking. Because actually his relationship to Bharatanatyam and the South this is not the first time he has kind of been working with that. In fact, he's leading percussionist for many years, even in Kathak, was always a mridangist, which is from the South, not from the North. So he has a particular kind of, I guess, infinity with a way of thinking and a way of being that sits in this kind of sudden dynamic. And I think also that there is for him a necessity to be able to work with artists that come with such a sense of security about who their identity is, so that the process is not defined by himself or them trying to define what their artistic identity is. They are already secure in their identity, so the potential to play was crucial.
And we see a tribe of women, older women, younger women. Manel, what kind of relationships between these women are we seeing on stage?
Well, we wanted to create um, multiple types of relationships. So you have the main matriarch, the leader, the carrier of the larger history, larger story. Then you have her followers who believe in her teachings. There are also two women who represent almost like we called them the shooting stars or the twins or her daughters. And those are sort of the ritual they're learning. They are not there. They're learning from her, but eventually they will be like their mother in their knowledge and connection with the narrative of history. You also have the same characters at one point shift and change. So you have the tribe that sort of participates in this ritual that believe in this ritual. But then at one point, they just do a little costume change with a face mask, and they are changed to a different type of people. And these are people who have forgotten. And there is a struggle between the people who want to remember and the people who want to forget. And then at the core of it, there is this, we call her the princess, but she represents the knowledge. She represents the heritage, the story itself, but embodied. And she dances on the stage and interacts with mother, interacts with the tribe, but she is an embodiment of knowledge throughout history.
And you designed that cave, that beautiful scenography. What is the idea behind the scenography, that cave?
I built every single idea very closely with Akram. Discussions, we changed and we brought it back. But in reality, it was a representation of the landscape that this performance was born into. So our first performance was actually in the middle of the desert. It was a 360, like just a stage sitting on the sand. And the cliff that the whole performance stands on just stood there. And you look around you and there's huge mountains. You look above you, there were stars. So that was a very, very special moment where it was birthed. Then eventually it moved into the theater space and it became a different character, but we took that essence with us. So it's a representation of the nature that this tribe exists in. And the cave itself has these strings and ropes, and these represent sort of the spider webs that are built against caves that have not been entered for millennia. We introduced the triangle, which is a very known figure in Al-Ula, to be placed in as decorative element, but also as windows. And so the triangle is the symbol of princess, who is the embodiment of knowledge. And because windows are these gateways of two worlds, and she was given that symbol. Mother had the circle because she is the all-encompassing knowledge and protector, and so on and so forth. So like there's a lot of symbolism that was taken from architecture, taken from the graphics that were found on the rocks, all embedded along with the colors and the natural tones of the landscape.
And Maven, is there also modern dance in this choreography?
Yeah, I mean, I would be resistant to use the term modern dance in that sense, because I don't think Akram really serves that particular kind of concept of it. There are dancers who are, yeah, I would say, trained in more contemporary dance practices, who really actually, for them, they really had to surrender to a kind of different manner of practice, because we really wanted to develop and devise a creative space that was actually more in line with the ensemble of Indian classical dancers than it was in what I guess would be normal practice in contemporary dance today.
So we're looking forward, because you bring the history, the stories, the nature, the landscape, all the dance of that side in the desert. You will bring it to Heerlen on the 24th of March. We're looking forward very, very, very to Sikra, Night of Remembering. Thanks for your introduction.
Thank you so much for hosting us.
Thank you.